Okay. We are live. Great. Welcome, welcome. We are here for day one. I'm going to turn the music off because there we go. We are here for day one of a 4-day body healing immersion, but the equinox, right? We just passed the full moon, the eclipse, and the equinox, right? So we are in the time of equal light, equal dark. And which is an interesting, like if I just think about how much I love the sun and how much light brings to us, right? That we are dependent upon the light. And that even as fall comes, there can be, especially when I lived on the East Coast, there was a like, oh no, that dark time, that cold time is coming. But there's something about also being dependent upon the dark, that need to move in, to get quiet, to not see out, but to see in, that place of nurturing, right? Our incubator, that kind of the seed in the depth of the soil that is garnishing, gathering nourishment in order to grow. That we need that time. And right now we're standing in this place of equal dark, equal light. And how do we hold? And it can be a little edgy, right? Because when we're in the light, depending on how we hold the light, right, we can kind of value the light more. And then this place becomes edgy where the darkness starts to come in. The shadow, the less visible, the unseen. And as women, I really honor this place. I honor this place of, I'm checking my phone to make sure that everyone can get in. Okay, I thought I saw a message, but right, this place of that we are in our incubation of another human, that we have this capacity to hold space for that growth process with another human and within ourselves. Okay, so let's open the space, right? Just an honoring of this container, that this is a container for you, for us, for our journey of moving from body pain to body mastery, right? Unlocking the wisdom of your body, my body, our collective body, and embody deep healing. And so today we're focusing on getting out of pain, but let's open the space and what that means and all the support that we may need in that space. So honoring just the space that we're in, right? The room that you're in, the home that you're in, right? This support, this nurturing, the land under the home, right? This precious Mother Earth, and those who have been stewards of this land from the beginning, the animals, the humans, those who have cared, who have honored, who have passed this land forward in interesting ways. To all, again, the unseen, the seen and unseen. So the animals, the birds who are witness, those in flight who are witness, the bugs, the ones that, right, I see the turkeys and the deer and the coyote and the foxes and the mountain lions in my area of the woods. But what is holding you in your land, in your space? What about the stars, the trees, the rocks, the forests, the rivers, the oceans, the aquifers, right? All that exists within this land to support us, and that we in turn become stewards of. And let's just take a breath into that. And anyone else or anything else that needs to be in your presence for healing, right? Because body healing is not just about fixing things, getting things better, tidying things up, making things pretty. It's really a journey of coming back to ourselves, coming back to who we are. So whether it's an ancestor, a beloved friend, or just the acknowledgement of somebody who may be witness to your process, to your journey. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Padma. Padma Borrego. I have been on this journey for a very long time. I am a movement therapist, a body worker, an energy healer in a few different realms. And I have kind of built these tools as I've needed them. And I have been doing this for a long enough time that I have done a lot of work with my body, with clients, in finding a place inside that feels healthy and whole, vibrant, healthy, but also a place of witness to ourselves, right? How do we take care of ourselves? How do we honor what is needed? How do we understand what our body needs? And a lot of the caregiving that we give to the outside, especially as women, how do we turn that towards ourselves and really listen and honor what we need for each stage of our life, what we need in times of illness, what we need in times of not just healing, but thriving, when we need more, taking care of children, taking care of others, elders, contributing to the community. So these skills that I have learned have been really amazing, but this is not where I started. I started from a place of feeling really disconnected from my body. And I think as a young person, I was disconnected in a very playful way, but there was I guess, an interference and a big ask from the universe. At 17, I shattered my elbow, and it was a very intense experience. I had a lot of nerve and bone damage. And I was told I would never use my arm again. There was so much nerve damage. They did pin my arm back together, but I didn't have a lot of feeling or ability to move my arm for a very long time. And in the hearing that I would never use my arm again, I kind of took that. I took it and I believed it. And it was years later when I was in New York that I met a teacher, right? I was still in pain, still not really in my body very much, or knowing how to use my body in a way that feels expressive or expansive. And I was in a lot of pain. And so I went to a yoga studio and I met a woman there who supported me in understanding my ability to heal, the human body's ability to heal. She was like, nerves heal, they regenerate, bones change shape, the way that you load them, and we heal. We're designed to heal. So it was a message that was given to me that changed my life, that allowed me to step into myself, to find not only movement that helped me reduce my pain, but also movement that I could do and that I could expand on and build and strengthen and become stronger. And then I became stronger than I'd been in my whole life. And these tools also allowed me to really listen and meet each challenge and kind of phase or season of life as it comes, right? Oh, there's another injury. Oh, there's a tangential injury. There's an illness, a chronic condition, right? That things that show up from life, right? Knowing how to meet them and I almost wanted to cancel this today because there was a lot of tech challenges, and a lot of, there was a situation in the community that really pulled my attention away from doing the technical stuff, the detail work. Not the heart work, but the detail work. And so I was like, I should cancel it. But I feel like at this time in the world, we are being asked to be more present with ourselves, to turn towards the places that are in pain, to turn towards what needs healing. And it's often, right, our body that shows the symptoms. And maybe it's the body expressing the symptoms, but the needs can be deeper. And especially as women or caregivers or healers, that this kind of need to really learn about ourselves, to be in our bodies, to know what our needs are so that we can show up in very clear ways, so that we can become healthy physically, mentally, emotionally, and use that as a contribution in our world that needs it right now. So it's what I'm incredibly passionate about, is supporting not just women, those are the ones that mostly come, but men. And so let's get started. So what I wanted to do was, and I'm going to send this with the recording, I'll put this in the chat. So when we talk about pain, okay, I'm just gonna, Well, actually, let me show it just for a minute. I'll show it because I don't know if I can put it in the chat. So when we talk about pain, right? So I guess I want to break down pain as pain is an experience of the nervous system, right? It is a sensory experience. We have a sense of pain, which may or may not be tissue damage, right? We can have body pain that is not always diagnosable, not always understandable, right? Right. There's this brief story, The Tale of Two Nails, right? Construction stories, right? One gentleman stepped on a nail and went through his work boot, those big, thick work boots, and came up through, and excruciating pain, just horrible pain, just crying, yelling. And they drove him to the hospital, took an x-ray to figure out how to remove the boot and not damaged tissue. And they realized that it had gone, the nail had gone between his toes and hadn't actually penetrated any tissue. It was a very mind thing. And it doesn't mean that all pain is mind. It's that pain is connected to the nervous system. And the nervous system is our whole system-wide sensory system. There's another story of a man who had a nail gun, dropped his nail gun, and it fired, but he didn't know where it went. It was just kind of a loud sound, a shock, but he didn't know where it went. He had a headache that night, toothache, called to go into the dentist, pain, took an x-ray, and he had, the nail had gone through his upper palate, roof of his mouth, was pushing on, pushing on some things and creating pain. So, but he didn't feel it. He felt it as a headache that came later. It's not to dismiss pain. It's just a way to say that pain is not always what it seems. So this thing that I'm going to show you is one way that we start to become connected to the pain or the symptoms. right? That we learn how to describe them. One, to get a sense of our connection to them. It slows us down. It allows us to be present in naming, right? Having a kind of a cognitive ability to name, to connect to what's actually happening in our body experience. And that's part of this work, is really connecting us into our body experience, right? That part of our culture has separated us from our body. I'm using a lot of words. I'm going to stop using words, but I am going to show you this list. And I will send it out with the recording, since I can't quite figure out how to put it in a chat. I forgot you can't put a PDF. Okay, so here is, and description words are also colors, but we're talking about, and the way this is set up is fragile to hard. So if we think about what's happening in our body, does it feel tender? Does it feel fragile? Does it feel stiff, firm, smooth or sharp? Does it feel, I like that word, glassy or prickly or sharp? Is there a pulse that feels fast, rapid, or slow, throbby? Right? Is there a sensation of fullness or intensity or heaviness? Or a space that feels weak or empty? Is there a space that feels wet, moist, slimy, or dry, arid? Is there a space that feels open, receptive, expansive, or constricted, hot or cold, warm, loud, or quiet, right? Sometimes pain can feel very loud or seem very loud, thundering. I like that. Or still. Again, pain isn't the only sensation. It's really just a way to get clear. Sometimes people come to me and they say, I'm in pain. And as I have them describe it, it gives me more information. Is it constant? Is it at a level 10 or a level 2? And this isn't just sensation or pain, it's any sensation. Even if it's a symptom of fatigue, again, is it a level 10? Does it show up in the morning? Is it 24 hours a day? Is it after a particular event or connection or work or meal or food? Right, that it gives us information and takes us out of the emotional response to the symptom. That when we get pain, most of us hit a lot of fear. When we have a symptom we don't understand, we hit a lot of fear. This allows us to step back, to describe, to then be able to describe that to somebody else or to ourselves. And say, just get curious about what is it? What is it connected to? Is this migraine connected to a certain pattern? Okay, dark, bright, foggy, shiny, shapeless, painful, or healing. I love that contrast. Is it achy? Is it calming? Right, sometimes our sensations can be very spacey making and can seem very calming. Or maybe that's part of the the times in between the sharper or more intense qualities. And just the contrast, dead or alive, what feels dormant and what feels vivid, alive. Again, these are just to look at, to take us again really out of pinpointing our experience as one thing, void of information, void of being able to connect to it. So let's take a moment just to sit with that information. Maybe just close your eyes for a moment and connect to a place in your body. Maybe just close the eyes. And have a sense of your breath, the volume of your breath. Is it shallow? Is it deep? Is it up in the chest or down in the belly? Do you feel your breath mostly in the front of the body or the back? And then notice any places that feel sharp or strong. Again, it doesn't have to be pain. It could be tightness. It could be a clench or grip. Or sometimes nerve has a sharp or buzzy, prickly, pins and needles, travels. What do you notice? And any of those descriptors, maybe coming up with 5 different words for this kind of stronger experience. Maybe it's fatigue, fogginess, dizziness, confusion. Right? Maybe it doesn't feel good to turn towards this sensation. Maybe it amplifies it. That's good information. And then as you sit in this place of stronger sensation, can you then just step back a little bit and find somewhere else in the body that feels somewhat calm? There's some ease, softness. Feels maybe neutral or maybe good. Good. And can you hold both? And if the stronger sensation consumes more focus, more energy, notice that. And then maybe not hold both, maybe come back to the place that feels good. There's some ease, there's a little bit of space. Again, maybe you notice color difference. Again, notice the words. And then maybe, is there another place that feels good or has ease or calmness or a color that is calming? And then maybe there's another. So you have these spaces that feel good. and this space that feels a little more sharp or more intense, heightened sensation. So when you turn back to that heightened sensation, is there anything that changes? Maybe the words change, or the area of sensation changes. Or maybe the breath feels a little different. Or maybe instead of a 10, it's more like a 6 or a 5. Or maybe it's sharper. What do you notice? Good. And when you're ready, slowly opening your eyes and just looking into the space around you. Just noticing the light in the room. Maybe an object. Just noticing the color and the shape. Maybe a sense of weight. Maybe even just how the room feels. Good. And I would love to, this is a very short hour, I would love to have you put in the chat just some of your experience of how that landed, right? What did you notice? Were you able to come up with words? Were you able to hold a good place and a more challenging place? Was there a change in either? Anything that you want to experience or anything that you want to share about your experience. So I want to bring us onto the floor because I really want us to have these nonverbal or more body-centric moments. And that's part of the practice is instead of thinking or sending information down into the body, right? We're trying to go from a more bottom-up approach, right? That the sensory system is really all of the nerve and these nerve fibers in our entire body that bring all this information in. Okay, we had a little powder outage warning. Hopefully the internet stays on. I'm just gonna finish. I'm just gonna finish what we started. Okay, so let's come down to the floor. I will send this out to you all later. Okay, so on the floor, if you can't come onto the floor, you can try the seated or lay down on your bed. Couch is harder, squishy bed is harder, but let's take a few moments just letting the body settle. The weight of the feet and the legs, the thighs towards the pelvis, the lower legs towards the feet, weight of the hips, shoulders, the arms, the head, And maybe even just notice things. And you may not be able to notice, but just notice right foot, left foot. Is there more weight on one foot? Or the right hip, left hip, is there more weight? Right side of the rib cage, left side of the rib cage. Maybe even the sense of the shape. Which part feels heavy? Which part feels light? And is it similar on each side? Right, I can feel the right lower ribs a little heavier and the left kind of upper ribs and shoulder blade area heavier. And the right shoulder lighter. And what about the back of the head? Do you notice the head heavier on one side? And if you're looking at the ceiling, are you looking straight up as your head tipped to one side? Good. Hands on your lower belly, so fingers can be close to your pubic bone. Just letting your breath be invited towards your hands. That sense of a longer inhale. And longer exhale. Doesn't have to be a lot. Sometimes as we lengthen the breath, there can be a little panic around the breath. So see if you can soften and let whatever breath comes into the belly right, maybe after each exhale becomes a little bit more full, just a little bit. Good. And so let's actually play with the movement from here. So what I'm feeling is that as I inhale, the belly gets full. And so I'm going to let my belly continue to lift towards my hands. So I'm rolling. It's called anterior tilt, or a little bit of an arch. I'm rolling towards the sitting bones. The lower back will get a little bit lighter on the floor, and the base of the pelvis will get a little heavier. And then slowly rock back the other way, rocking the center of the pelvis down, and even the top of the waist, right? The top, like the waist of your pants down, lower back down. You might feel a little, just a slight lift near your buttocks, near your sitting bones. Almost like a rocking chair. And then anterior tilt. Little baby arch. Not a huge amount of effort, but see if you can almost let the exhale, again, not squeezing the breath out, but let it assist that posterior tilt or rocking back. And a little anterior tilt. Belly comes up into the hands. And if there's any pain, make it smaller. Make it slower. Even noticing as you anteriorly tilt. Again, we're not using the legs a lot. It's not a very strong movement. We're really just trying to initiate the movement of the pelvic bones. And letting the tissue, right, not so much initiate, but respond to what's happening in the structure, in the bones itself. Right, the legs are a little more still and moving the pelvis. The shoulders and the neck are a little more still, little movement, but not very much. And just feel, what is the feeling? Is the right side and left side moving similarly, moving different? Is there a dullness on one side or a sharpness? Good, and pause here and just let everything settle. And arms alongside the body. And let's just let the head roll. Heavy head, right? Heads are heavy. They're kind of like bowling balls. 8 pounds, 10 pounds, 12 pounds. A little side movement, kind of turning the nose to the side, and then center and side. And aware of the weight of the head, how the head is rolling on the floor. Are there places where you feel like you have to push to get over a bump, or are there places that feel flat and it's easy to roll, or it just rolls by itself? Noticing neck muscles, maybe some muscles that are overworking, or you can possibly feel it up into the skull or down into the shoulder. But really slow, very heavy movement. Meaning you're not trying to lift the head to turn it. You're letting the weight sink back. There's still effort. The neck muscles are still moving, being activated, just less effort than holding the head up. And then slowly come back to center. Good, let's stretch the legs out for a moment. Notice what feels, right? Does your lower back pop off the floor? Does the back feel grippy, or can it settle? Do the legs feel heavy? Good, let's bend the legs again. Good, I'm just going to turn position so you can see, right? So my knees are bent, feet on the floor, arms alongside the body. And I'm going to take the feet a little wider than hip distance, but I'm going to let my knees tip. And again, these are really slow movements. Just going to let the knees tip so that I end up on my right back pocket. There's a lot less weight on the left side, very little weight, and there's more weight on that right buttocks. Again, the feet are heavy. Then I'm going to rock back to center. Knees are going to tip a little to the left. I'm rocking again onto that left back pocket. If I had a jean pocket or a leggings pocket, still letting the bones be heavy. And back through center. So we have 3 bones of the pelvis. We have our sacrum in the center. Sacrum connects to our lumbar spine on the top, and coccyx or the tailbone on the bottom. On the right side, the sacrum connects to the right hip bone at the sacroiliac joint. And on the left side, to the left hip bone or ilium or innominate at the sacroiliac joint. So finding a slow rhythm, we're just going to tip right back pocket, center, left back pocket, nice and slow, so you can feel the heaviness of the feet and the thighs and the hips. And I'm also going to let my head tip with the legs, side, center. Right? It helps sometimes to keep the back muscles from overworking. Right? And we start on the floor just to allow the muscles to find almost an appropriate strength. Right? Slow movements. Not very weight bearing. Just to almost unwind any patterns that are pretty fixed, bracing pattern, compensation patterns, right? Even patterns of protectiveness or anticipation of pain. And becoming more familiar with the body and what it is capable of doing, as well as soothing the system, soothing the nervous system, soothing the tissue. Nice and slow, right? Letting your weight, one more side to side, letting your weight get heavier so you feel the weight against the floor. And this simple rolling creating a little bit of compression or pressure. Back of head, back of ribs, back of pelvis, soles of feet. And then coming back to center and pause. Let's extend the legs just for a breath or two. Notice what is settling in the calves or thighs or hips, lower back, and what is it? Just checking in. Did something get more aggravated? Or more soft? Bending knees again. Okay. So I'm just going to take my right leg up and cross it over, or bring the right ankle to the left thigh just above the knee. And I'm going to do that same anterior, posterior, or rocking towards the sitting bones. Sitting bones are the base of the bony protuberance, the bony landmarks at the base of the pelvis. You feel them when you're sitting on a wood chair. Those are your sitting bones. We're rocking towards the sitting bones, and then rocking towards the top of the pelvis. So lower back and top of pelvis come to the floor. The sitting bones tip up a little bit. And then rocking the other direction. Again, nice and slow and heavy, so you feel especially that leg, the right leg that's in a figure 4 shape, heavy. Thigh heavy towards the pelvis. Good, one more. Anterior, posterior. Let everything soften. I'm just gonna wrap the right leg around the left leg, pause. Maybe hands by the hips. Maybe just a little tiny tip to the left. And center really small. And then other side. And my head wants to go counter. If my hips are going to the right, my head wants to go left. Notice what happens. Maybe the head wants to go the same direction. And I'm just going to uncross that leg, bring the foot back to the floor, extend both legs, pause, notice. Bend your knees. Let's take that left ankle into the right thigh just above the knee. Same thing, just a little bit of anterior, posterior, arching, tucking, cat, cow. Rocking towards sitting bones, rocking towards the lower back, super slow. So you can think more about moving the bones and less about the muscles moving the bones. Less effort. Again, maybe looking for a rhythm. Nice slow rhythm. And then let's pause. I'm going to take that leg, wrap it around the other leg. Do what you can. All depends on your legs, your thighs, your flexibility, your length of leg, injury. So be kind. This time I'm going to let my knees tip ever so slightly to the right, head ever so slightly to the right. kind of inner back pocket, and center. Just to the edge of the sacrum again, just that inseam of the back pocket, inner back pocket, and center. Good. And then uncross, feet on the ground, extend the legs. Again, we've just done this for a few moments, but just noticing the quality in your body. Maybe one or two descriptive words. Right, that contact of the skin on the floor. Maybe any change in your breath or just a sense of ease or slowing down. Or the opposite, an uncomfortability. Right, more attention in the body. That could be calming, that could be not so calming. And then bend knees, gently roll to your side and come up to sit. Since I probably lost all of you, I'll send the recording out with the two parts. And I'd love to hear how that felt. Again, because sometimes connecting to the body, connecting to the pain can heighten our awareness, can increase our panic or our fear. And sometimes it's very calming. So I'd love to hear your experience so that I can address it tomorrow, so that we can continue to hold space to stay out of pain. So one thing, when we work with the nervous system, we're working with the pain, sometimes indirectly. And that was just kind of a nervous system approach, right? How do we soothe the whole system to address the pain, to address the symptom, even if it's very site specific? Again, I'd love to hear. And I'll see you tomorrow. Any questions, please email me. I'll put that in. I'll send out an email. And looking forward to seeing you tomorrow and doing more, right? Tomorrow is how do we stay out of pain? How do we keep creating a different relationship in the nervous system with the pain? All right. Look forward to seeing you then. Be kind, be gentle with your body, with your being, with your mind. See you tomorrow.